charts are right now flashing something that has not happened since June of 2023, and I'm not sure you want to know what it is. However, there is another chart showing us something even bigger and the exact opposite of what you probably believe is happening right now. And let's just say, it's pretty big. There are three completely mind-blowing charts I want to show you in this video, and two of them might actually catch you by surprise because they're completely the opposite of the first one. So if you love massive gains and your goal is to become a Bitcoin millionaire, potentially even billionaire this cycle, hit that like, hit that subscribe, and let's dump into what surely will be some life-changing data. And I want to start off with something that you might not want to see, right? This is something that you potentially do not like. However, I want to explain why this is exactly what's to be expected and why it's actually very important and even good for something that isn't Bitcoin. Actually, it's really good for Bitcoin also, but in the very short term, it's not good for Bitcoin price. So obviously we see some very clear bearish divergence that the first time we saw this was back, at least of this run of 2023. We saw this actually happen back in the middle of January this year. It basically lasted for an entire month, and it was Bitcoin's new yearly highs that happened as a result. But then quickly, we saw bearish divergence here on Bitcoin's chart, and also on the RSI is where we see this divergence. And it quickly led from a pretty big dump from 25,000 all the way down to about $19,000 per Bitcoin. However, if you really look at this chart, literally within a day or two, we then pumped up to new higher highs. And basically, that bearish divergence just showed us that there was a quick sell-off. Ultimately, though, that was bullish. Same thing happened here back in June of 2023. We saw some bearish divergence that kind of petered off. It took a while to play out. In fact, this bearish divergence also took about multiple weeks to fully play out after we got the bearish divergence on the daily chart. And now as well, on the daily chart, Bitcoin has absolutely put on a monster rally. However, you can see the RSI has been diverging completely away from the price action, which makes me believe it's possible, not immediately. If you look at both of these divergences, it actually took a fair amount of time, but eventually it did initiate a pullback, which then over a longer period of time then put us into higher high territory. Now, this is Bitcoin's chart. And clearly, this most recent pump here that we saw kind of bring us above 44, up to about 45,000 US dollars. Obviously, we did not put in fresh RSI highs here. In fact, it continued that trend of a divergence between the price and the RSI. So Bitcoin potentially here is finally set up for another macro pullback. And I've been talking about what exactly that level is for a long time. I personally think that the $37,000 to $38,000 range is the ultimate dump pullback area, accumulation, even longing zone, if you're interested in participating basically in this market. Now, there's obviously no guarantee we're going to get that, but recognizing that there is a divergence between the price of the RSI and Bitcoin is, let's be honest, guys. I mean, this is a weekly chart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We are on our 8th weekly green candle in a row. The last time this happened, in fact, you actually have to go back really far because the last bull market started off with 7 green weekly candles and then it got a red one. Very similar to what I think we would see here. I personally think we would see something like this, where maybe this candle turns red or at least maybe the next one, and then we just get like a wick or a dump, whatever, trade sideways for a week or two, and then continue upwards. So what I'm saying here, even though I'm saying Bitcoin could dump here, it's not a bad thing. It's exactly like what I just pointed out, where it just needs to cool off a little bit. And there's no guarantee we're even going to get that. But 8 green weekly candles in a row, you have to think, okay, are we going to get a pullback? And there is divergence actually validating and showing us that as well. Now, something even bigger is that the entire altcoin chart, the total 3 chart, which is the entire cryptocurrency market minus Bitcoin and minus Ethereum, currently sits a little under $460 billion in valuation, just got a bullish cross. You can see that right here on the MACD. And the last time that we saw this, altcoins went on a monster rally as well. And they went from about a $50 billion valuation up to over $1 trillion in altcoins. This is everything minus Bitcoin and Ethereum. These are pure altcoins. So we just got a bullish cross here. So that is significant. And what is also happening is, for example, one of the top altcoins in the top 10 here, Cardano, ADA, is in the middle of getting a bullish cross as well on the weekly chart. The last time this happened, I tweeted about this like 2 days ago. The last time this happened, ADA rallied like 6,000% over the next like year. So it wasn't immediate, but it just signaled like a long-term bull market for Cardano. And we haven't even got this cross yet. We're just getting very, very close to it. We tried to have this cross back in like May, so about 7 months ago, and we didn't get it. It was a fake out, and we didn't get a bullish cross. But now, the momentum, basically, if ADA even just stays anywhere near where it's at right now, or even goes up a little bit, it will confirm this bullish cross. And personally, I think would be a very good opportunity for ADA. With that being said, Bitcoin's weekly chart as well is getting very close to setting its first golden weekly cross in history, considering that the first death cross in history was back in January for Bitcoin. So this is pretty big. The 200 moving above the 50. It's getting closer and closer. Not there quite yet. You can see on this chart, this yellow and blue line is where this golden cross is, and is very likely to happen over the next couple of weeks, as long as Bitcoin remains anywhere near bullish, even if we get a pullback all the way down here. Well, more realistically, I think a pullback would be more here, or in this range, around this level if we did get one. But ultimately, worst case, I'm looking for, could we get a wick down to 30K, 31, 32K? It's possible. I'll be honest, I think it's pretty unlikely at this point, considering how much Bitcoin has gone up. But if there would be a massive crash for Bitcoin, 31, give or take $1,000 either direction, up to maybe 33 or down to like 30 or 29, is, I think, at this point the lowest that this dump could go. If it would go lower than that, I'm just playing devil's advocate. If it would go lower than that, I think that we have to rethink this entire bull market. But we're nowhere close to that. I'm just trying to show you worst case scenario. And I guess I might as well show you best case scenario is that Bitcoin, honestly, I think best case scenario here is actually that Bitcoin does get a pullback. I don't think it's very healthy and good if Bitcoin just goes back, continues rallying here. And let's say, for example, goes up to 50K. Let's say we put in a high, another high here. We extend this divergence, and let's say the RSI doesn't like that. I personally just think the higher Bitcoin goes without any significant pullback, the more quick and dumpy a pullback will be when we inevitably get one. Because there's not a single time in Bitcoin's history where it has only gone up without getting dumped on. And as I also mentioned before on Bitcoin's 5-day chart, we got the exact same signals on the RSI, or the Bollinger Bands, the MACD, and the price action that validated the beginning of bull markets, and at least a couple 100% gains for Bitcoin. So far, we've only actually gone up about 70% since this signal. And in the past, for example, we see it here. Bitcoin rallied from about 3,000 up to about 13,000. Then we got it here. Bitcoin rallied from 11,000 up to 64,000. That was the beginning of the bull market. And we've gotten it here. And again, these were hundreds of percent gains in both scenarios. Here, we have not had nearly as much gains, but you can see the same signals are popping off and are likely to ultimately, yes, give us those gigantic giga gains. But with that being said, I think it's important to note, altcoins look amazing. Bitcoin could have a pullback here. Altcoins can rally with a Bitcoin pullback, but I ultimately think that we do have to be aware that Bitcoin potentially over the next week or so is going to trade sideways and could get some sort of a pullback. I think that's the good scenario. I think the bad scenario, longer term or mid-term, is that we just keep pumping here. However, I think that if I would say which one is more likely, I personally think it's more likely that we actually keep pumping. But I personally prefer, and I think it would be healthier if we actually got a pullback on Bitcoin's chart first. So two different clarifications there. And take advantage of massive sign up and deposit bonus if you're interested in getting altcoins, getting Bitcoin, or just trading any of this market. It takes 30 seconds to sign up with my links to Phoenix and BitGet below. Without any further ado, that's it for me.